are living in a time and place in society where most people create their own digital stories. The amount of self-made cultural productions is rapidly increasing. This is done through various uses of social media such as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, blogging sites, and more. Joe Walker Redberg, professor of digital culture at University of Bergen, tells us, and blogs on Facebook, the distinction between professional and amateur is largely meaningless. We believe that each post, status update, and comment can be seen as part of our personal story, to others to follow and reciprocate to.
According to Dr. Strange at the University of Ottawa, the notion of storytelling has been clouded over by simplistic definitions such as a story is a structure that encompasses a beginning, a middle, and an end. Within the new age of digital technology, stories take on a different role where they can be told through social media such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Within these mediums, the stories may never end since people are continuously adding to their stories and everyone seems involved with following people's stories.
The notion of personal storytelling through social media can be related to old ways of storytelling, explained by Dr. David Thornburg through his work of the history of storytelling and campfires to cyberspace. He tells us that since ancient times, storytelling has been a way of teaching through the wisdom of elders that has been passed down. These teachings were usually conducted around a campfire. He explains to us how, in this setting, the focal point was the flame of the fire, and how the darkness and the sounds of the wilderness all provided as a useful backdrop for the storyteller and these listeners, who would then become the teachers to the next generation to come. Now, through digital storytelling, the glowing flame of the campfire is replaced with different forms of technology, such as a computer, a cell phone screen, and many others. He explains to us how in this setting, the focal point was the flame of the fire, and how the darkness and the sounds of the wilderness all provided as a useful backdrop for the storyteller, and these listeners would then become teachers for the next generation to come. Now, through digital storytelling, the glowing flame of the campfire is replaced with different forms of technology, such as a computer or a cell phone screen. He concludes that what was once a mixture of creative images and writing now involves creative clicking of buttons.
Robert van Boysten at the University of Humanistics in the Netherlands has conducted research on the digital image and how it tells stories with an organizational standpoint. He states that pictures are not images that are drawn by artists in the sense that they are controlled with the intent by a person, but are the result of interactions with machines whose nature is based on programming. This idea is that we are creating pictures through digital media that speak more volumes than ever before. With an image, we can tell people around the world that what we are doing, and we are constantly uploading pictures to social networking sites like Facebook and YouTube. Digital technologies seem to provide both higher connectivity and easier access to collective knowledge. The situation of using technologies community story is not new. From passive media such as sand or leaves to the printing press and the internet, technology has always supported and enabled new ways of connecting, telling stories, and thereby of transmitting and challenging collective knowledge, allowing us to reach new levels of innovation, creativity, and personal development. It allows us to transmit our stories at a continuing rate where they are never ending.
A form of digital storytelling through social uses of new media is microblogging. This phenomenon is widely used across social networking sites such as Twitter and Facebook. In microblogging, users of social media can post their statuses for others to see via their mobile phones or from their computer. This study was conducted by Akshay Java and her colleagues at the University of Maryland, who found that people use microblogging to share their daily activities and be informed of that of others. In other words, sharing our personal stories and mini updates and wanting to know the personal stories of others.
It can be seen that through microblogging on Twitter, personal communities can be built even though there may be no physical contact with others. Individuals are able to pass on stories and give each other information just as though a regular community would.
The storytelling in social networks, such as Twitter, has gone beyond personal stories. There have been many cases of news stories that can reach people instantly via Twitter before news networks. Zizi Papacharsi is the head of the communication department at the University of Illinois, Chicago. She conducted a study that followed news storytelling on Twitter, focusing on the January 25th Egyptian uprising via Egypt hashtag. She tells us that although only 5% of the content on Twitter is devoted to news storytelling, Twitter is consistently used by news networks to gain insight on public opinion. She claims that people who look to microblogs when mainstream news and other forms of media are blocked or restricted of information. A perfect example of this is during the period in Egypt from January 25th to February 25th, 2011. Many news networks and media were blocked and even the internet was eventually shut down. She explains how Twitter was virtually the only source of news and information on real-time events. The day of resignation of Hosni Mubarak, there were 10,000 tweets every 5 minutes. This example shows that our personal stories on Twitter through microblogging can contribute to a larger newsworthy issue such as this.
With being able to create our own videos, we can speak our story the way we want to, with minimal interference. According to Daniel Meadows of Cardiff University, no longer must the public tolerate being done by media. That is, no longer must we tolerate media being done to us. No longer must we put up with professional documentarists recording us for hours and then throwing away most of what we tell them, keeping only those bits that tell our stories their own way and more than likely at our expense. Essentially, we can take back the power through such things like YouTube and Twitter and tell the world our own story. So to wrap it up, it is visible that digital storytelling has become an important aspect of our society. We're constantly following our friends online to see what they are doing. We're using storytelling as a way to pass information at great amounts of speeds all around the world. Images are transmitted to give us a greater understanding than just simple words on a screen. We're using digital storytelling as a way to fight back and let everyone know we have voices in this world. To finish it off, here's a quote by Dr. Strangelove that shows how social media is letting us tell stories to societies everywhere. The power of telling stories via moving images, a power that up until now has been the almost sole domain of professionals and corporations, is in our hands, our lives, our stories.